Salam everyone, and welcome to Muslimahs in Motion. I'm Hawa, your host, and here we explore how to balance the life you dream of with the life you're living today. Today's episode is for anyone who's, you sat down, you're determined, you're trying to get to work on that project, whatever project you're working on finally. You open the Word document, you open the Google Doc, you open your Notion, you open your notebook, and suddenly your mind is just blanking. Suddenly, you don't want to do it anymore. You just want to take a nap. And then the next day, you still want to take the nap. And then maybe the day after that, you still don't feel like doing it. Well, today's episode, I wanted to name it, I guess the name is How to Build Something When You Feel Like Nothing. Let's talk about it, because we've all been there. So this morning, I actually had a conversation with a good friend of mine about the notion of faux productivity. Let me explain. So, I have the calendar, the Google Calendar. I have my lists, and I've been trying to implement this time blocking stuff and the time batching, And for those of you who don't know, time blocking, if you didn't know already, because basically everybody in productivity talks about it, but I will still explain. Time blocking is when you set aside blocks of time in your day to get certain things done. So let's say, for example, from 12 to 2, what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat lunch. That's a long lunch. Let's try something else. From 7:30 a.m. to 9. These are terrible blocks. Okay, let's say from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., I'm going to do morning yoga. That's doable. That makes sense, right? And you say, I'm going to do yoga every Monday and Wednesday. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., I'm going to do Pilates. Okay, cool. Time blocking, cool. Time batching is different, was new to me. Basically, let's say so humans are typically really bad at context switching, right? So the notion of time batching and context switching, all that is when you're switching from one subject to the other subject, one subject to the other subject, conjugate back and forth. So 15 minutes you work on one thing, then 15 minutes later you work on a totally other thing, a different other thing. And the thing is, right, our brains aren't really good at switching tabs like that. We're not computers. So, meanwhile, your brain is kind of giving some energy and giving some thoughts to the other things that you were working on. And then you're trying to start this new thing, but your brain is not giving the 100% energy that it could be towards that new thing. So time batching removes that, because you say one day I'm going to put all my focus. Let's say you're like me and you have a podcast. One day on Mondays and Wednesdays, just podcast stuff. Nothing else extra other than podcast stuff. I am also a software engineer. So let's say on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my primary focus will always be software engineering stuff, whether it's app development, game development, project side, this thing, or practicing design patterns, or just data structures stuff, algorithms, I don't know, lead code. I'm just gonna focus on that for Tuesday and Thursday. That's gonna be my primary extra focus besides work and all the other things I have to do. All right, time batching. I locked the time blocking in since undergrad, did the time batching. I finally feel like I have some semblance of a real routine. Okay, cool. But, I was showing her my routine. We were going through it together. And she asked me a question. And she was like, okay, that's cool. But, like, how effective is this really? And, I was like, I feel like the truth is, right? I feel like the problem wasn't, so in the past, right? I had the time blocking stuff. And here's the thing, right? I had to take a little sip. Here's the thing, right? Sometimes there would be something on the calendar, right? And obviously, you always plan to do the thing on the calendar. But then somebody rings you up. They're like, hey, I need help moving. Hey, I have a flat tire. Hey, this thing happened and I need your support. Or hey, you want to grab some sweet treats. You can never turn down a sweet treat, right? And you can also never turn down a good friend who needs your help and needs your support. So, of course, I would say yes. But then that thing that I had scheduled for that time would just not get done. And, once you start saying no one time, it becomes easy to say no for the next time and the next time and the next time. So, effectively, she was like, this is not a bad idea. However, you're the type of person who is going to help people when they need it, or when people call you, you're going to answer. And so the thing is, right, you can do those things, but the thing is, right, when you say yes to others, in that instance, you're effectively saying no to yourself. And the more you say no to yourself, the more easy it is to just not stick to what you plan for yourself. And what is that called? Well, one of its many names is procrastination. You just end up not doing the things that you said you was gonna do, right? Because you're always saying yes to others. And so it really made me think, right? Because I was like, oh, well, that's true. And the other thing is, too, when you have a system that's too structured, you run the risk of, structure collapsing. It's like the reason why people don't make, buildings with like just straight glass, right? I don't know. I think when, let's say, for example, the earth is always shifting and moving, tectonic plates, geology, all that fun stuff. But you got to be able to shift with the earth as well. And, right, so the thing is, when you're not able to shift, be flexible enough, you ultimately break. And much like buildings and people, systems and schedules can do that as well. So let's say you get a flat tire. Then that thing that you always plan for all the time, that thing probably will not get done because you only allocated that time in your day for that. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. So with that, right, she had a good point. I was like, okay, that's valid. She said, your schedule and all that stuff, like, it's good on paper. Don't get me wrong. It's a great idea on paper. But the truth is, life just doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work in time blocks all the time. Yes, ideally in a perfect world, we'd all love to get up at, 6 a.m. every day and, have lunch at the same time every day. We'd all love to just go to sleep at the same time every day. But what happens when you're working on a project and you can't have lunch at 12? You got to have lunch till 2 because you're trying to turn something in by 3. And so you didn't really finish until 2, you know, and now you feel like you can finally breathe, and then you're like, okay, let me now go take my lunch. What happens if, let's say, you stayed up a little late working on a project, or maybe you just watched a couple of YouTube videos, a little too many, and 12 a.m. turns to 3 a.m. Next thing you know, you're waking up at 7 a.m. And then your whole day is effectively messed up because, oh, you already started off on this weird foot, right? You didn't wake up at the time you were supposed to. Now you just feel like, oh, what's the point? And then you just throw the whole day away. It's like that TikTok trend when, it's basically, obviously you shouldn't do that. It's like that TikTok trend when, people would be like, oh, basically it's like comparing the ridiculousness of the statement of like, let's say like, oh, I didn't go to the gym this day, so I might as well just not go to the gym the rest of the week. And then like, it shows somebody like spilling like a little bit of water, and then they spill like the rest of the water on themselves because it's effectively supposed to display that like, okay, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't just throw away everything just because you had one little slip up, right? And it's true, you shouldn't. Again, though, the whole saying no to yourself, your brain losing confidence in you and your ability to believe in yourself, it's a lot. It compounds on yourself. Like, we'd all love to be perfect little robots. And if you can succeed at this, by all means, kudos to you. You are cool. You're great. But, sometimes it's just not sustainable. And honestly, I don't know. I used to think like it was something with me, and maybe I just needed to be better at discipline, and maybe I just didn't respect myself enough. And, then you get into that whole like cycle of self-loathing and like, oh no, I'm so bad at everything, or I'm so bad and I can't even just do this one thing. Woe is me. No. So, long story short, talked about having, instead of trying to succeed at all the big goals at once, why not just have seasons of focus? So then that way you just focus on that thing. You get really good at this for a predetermined amount of time, and then once that predetermined amount of time is over, you can literally focus on anything else. For example, let's say for 1 month, you want to focus on your fitness and your physical health. And you take one action per day that will effectively make your future self really proud of you. So you say 1 month or, a quarter. I know some people like quarterly goals. This quarter, I'm just going to focus on my physical health. I'm going to be the best, healthiest person I've ever met in my life. So you make these conscious decisions towards that goal every day. So let's say, for example, you start taking walks. At least you move your body for 30 minutes every day. Whether that's a walk, whether that's yoga, whether that's Pilates, whether that's kickboxing. But you keep that promise to yourself every day. And it's just one thing. Literally just one thing. Because if you can't even do that one thing for yourself, I fear we have bigger problems. But do that one thing every day. What happens? You stick to it, you stick to it, you stick to it. And then on top of that, studies show that it takes like 21 days to like form a habit. So once you really get past that 21 days, a month is at least 21 days, right, guys? It's either 30 or 31. So you will build that habit, inshallah. Then, when that period of time is over, you set your next goal, and then you start, right, the next one. And then here's the thing, right? You're not busy trying to build all these different habits at once. You've already, incorporated the habit into your lifestyle by now. So that previous habit of being a fit person, going, having physical activity, building systems. So like moving at least 30 minutes per day. Instead of every, drink with your meals juice, the drink with your meals water. Things like that, right? You make these conscious decisions, but this is your one focus. So you shouldn't, say like, well, I'm working on this other thing, so maybe I'll kind of focus on this thing tomorrow. No, you have no excuse. You are literally working on this one thing for this time. So really, you need to work on that. You've built it in your system, you've built it in your body, you're drinking the water, you're doing 30 minutes of at least of activity, maybe even an hour now, because you're like, wow, 30 minutes just isn't enough. Let me make it an hour, It's your life now, it's your lifestyle. Now, when it's time to move on to the next thing, you're not even thinking about, oh, how can I maintain this and maintain? No, it's literally part of your life now. So you don't got to think about that. You're just living life and you're adding something new and cool to it. And when you're putting in most of your energy towards something rather than just sharing energy towards a bunch of goals that you think you want to succeed at, you're able to exponentially grow so much quicker at the thing that you want to be good at. It's like the 1% rule, right? Just do 1% more every day. I mean, the thing compounds on itself, guys. It's percentages. It's math. So, yeah. I just thought that was a really interesting, concept. A very interesting, proposal. And, yeah, I think I'm going to start implementing that now. It's not easy, though, because I'm gonna be honest. I do a lot of stuff, working on a lot of projects on top of my full-time job, and I'm also doing this podcast. So it's kind of like, it sucks because I love all the stuff I'm doing. Is it easy to maintain all of them all at the same time? All the time? No, but it's still what I'm doing. So it's like really kind of hard for me to really choose, like, what do I want to lock in on? I can't just choose one thing. Because let's see, for example, I want to be a better engineer. So I'm working on projects and I'm studying so I can just be a better software engineer. A back-end Java developer, to be specific. But yeah, doing studying, reading books, building the things, APIs and whatnot. I was listening to this YouTuber, the Prioritization. He's like a really good engineering, software engineer. I like his content because I learn a lot from it, from the engineering side of things, and just like generally like self-improvement. And basically, long story short, he was just saying how, like, if you want to be a good engineer, you gotta learn how to build everything from the inside out. I don't know, building a load balancer, like building, serving an HTTP port. I don't know, just nerd stuff. I don't know. The point is just building things to learn about them at a deeper level, because you know something at the lowest level that you've built it, right? So if you can build this thing, you're probably gonna learn a lot more than just like kind of passively using it from your work day to day. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, I want to do all these things, and obviously be a good programmer as well. Well, I already said that. And obviously be a good podcaster as well. And, share people's stories, interview amazing sisters, and then also share some of my own insights and things I've learned about life. And then also work on apps and all these other stuff and whatnot. And it's a lot to juggle, but I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. So it's kind of like, I don't know. We'll see. Anyways. have a couple things I know I'm going to lock in on. But honestly, the main one is probably just being a better engineer and podcasting and like building this podcast. The other stuff, love you. But again, yeah, I can dedicate another quarter to that. All right. So, the other thing too is, right, I thought about, why am I trying to do all these things? Why am I like micromanaging myself? Because technically, I'm young. I have all the time in the world, right? Why am I rushing? Like, what's the rush? And the question is, yeah, really, what is the rush? Like, yeah, I know I want to be good fast, but like, I should, trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I will be okay if I don't work on everything at once. I need to just focus on the things that I'm aligned with where I'm at right now and trust him that everything will just be fine. Because sometimes it's like we try to micromanage our lives and try to, juggle everything, do everything, and finish fast or whatever, because we're just not trusting the process. And effectively, when you're not trusting the process, you're ultimately not trusting Allah, which is no. That's bad. That's not good. So with that, when you think about it like that, it's kind of like, okay, well, I definitely trust Allah. Definitely don't want to do no. So let's relax and make dua that Allah just aligns us with what we need to be aligned with right now. And when the time is right, I'll be aligned with different things, inshallah. Cool. Okay, so I think I touched on, a topic that, not just, this friend, but I've experienced this. I found that a lot of sisters that I know have experienced this as well. So, I hope that this provides some kind of value to you guys. Let's see. How to build something when you feel like nothing. I don't know. I feel like a lot of times people feel like you have to wait for the perfect moment to be able to, that eureka moment, to be able to be like, oh wow, here's my next idea. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's build. But let's be honest, sometimes it just never comes. It never comes, especially when you're trying to do 3 billion things at once and save the world and support people and your friend and your family and do all this cool stuff. How is the thing supposed to come if your brain is constantly always full with things all the time? It can't. It's not possible, Why do we have to be at this perfect moment, perfect time, perfect alignment? We have to have 9 hours of sleep, or I guess 10 hours for women now. Apparently studies show women gotta have 10 hours of sleep, which means I'm already behind. Why do I have all these things, Drinking the, date syrup, strawberry and matcha latte at sunrise. Everything's got to be perfect, aligned, stars aligned, everything is working. The truth is that's not real. It's not. Sometimes you just don't feel anything. Sometimes that emptiness might be the miracle. It might be what you need in that moment. And maybe in that emptiness and in that tiredness and in that nothingness, the real sincerity and the real, the real meat of it all lies. But anyways, what do I know? I'm just a girl. Also, sorry if I'm sniffing a lot, because pollen is no bueno. It's just making my eyes itch and my nose feel funny and weird, so yeah. But yeah, I don't know. How to build when you feel like nothing. I guess, like I said, 1% rule. You just gotta do one thing every day to maintain that. Because then you have no excuse. It's like, hey, you just gotta do this one thing. You owe it to yourself. And when you do that one thing every day and you fulfill that promise to yourself, you only build that confidence and you only build that trust in yourself. Isn't that just great and amazing and cool? Isn't that just like so easy how life works like that? So like, for example, like I mentioned earlier, the podcasting, you know, some days it is really hard to make content. Some days it's really hard to get up and film. Today, it took me like several hours and using my brother as a mannequin to shift everything to finally even get a semblance of what I wanted this shot to look like. Can you believe that? Some days it's high effort, high energy, like today. Filming, this setting. I really like how this looks on camera, by the way. Can't lie to you. I wish I could just keep my living room like this. I mean, I guess I could, actually. I could, but it'd be kind of weird. Because, like, this coffee table belongs in a coffee table area. Anyways, I digress. That's not the point. The point is, and then some days I can't, I can't look at the screen. Can't think of anything to write. Can't bring myself to interview people because all of a sudden, or not interview people, reach out to potential interviews because all of a sudden I'm shy and I feel like, oh, why would they want to talk to me and blah, 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 blah. Regular brain being an op type of stuff. So what do? I open the laptop, I post on a story, I doodle an idea maybe, I explore ideas, maybe look for some inspiration, but intentional inspiration, not scrolling for 3 hours and calling that looking for inspiration. No, not that. But, just making an intentional step. Because the truth is, we're not at our 100% all the time. Especially as women, let's be honest. We're not at our 100% all the time. And that is okay. And we should be okay saying that and admitting that. Because, sooner you admit that, the sooner you can, work around that. I used to fight myself for so long and be mad at myself when I was at that time in my cycle. Because, the whole thing, not just that 1 week or whatever, is not the cycle. We're in our cycle all the time. There are different phases. The luteal phase, the, ovulatory phase, menstrual phase. We are constantly in that hamster wheel of phase. So, with that being said, there are different things that we can do in different times of that. And we're capable of so much during some of the phase, and not capable of very much a lot in most of the phase, which is honestly very exhausting. But like I said, the point is, and there's so many good resources, by the way, about cycle syncing and all that stuff. It really changes the game. I'll try to leave a link in the description or show notes or whatever for that stuff because it's real interesting and it's super helpful. Point is, right, we got to accept that we're not feeling all great all the time so we can work with it, right? And part of working with it is just doing that 1%, just doing what you can. So yeah, man. Yeah. So I think one cool thing I saw was this, the strategy, right? Because, we can't leave the episode without something that y'all can use in your day or in your life to make your life better, right? So it's called the practical framework, the 1, 2, 3 method. So one thing you want to do 2 things you can do, and 3 things that can wait. 1 thing you want to do, 2 things you can do, 3 things that can wait. Cool. Determine that. And all the funky things that you ever want to complete, and you're like me and you want to do all of them at once, sit down with yourself and a notebook or an iPad and a pencil or your Apple Notes app, whatever floats your boat, and determine what is the 1 thing you want to do, the 2 things you can do, and the 3 things that can wait. And I feel like once you kind of get that started, it'll kind of guide you in the direction that you need. Not everything can be built from fullness, from the perfect conditions, from the perfect thought to the eureka moment. It's not all the time, guys. Simply, it's just not realistic. I think we just need to get used to the notion that, rather than forcing ourselves to be our best, we should work with ourselves when we're not at our best. That's fine, and it's okay. So, the key here is prioritization. I know as much as you want to do everything, you have to trust and understand by granting yourself the ability to give more energy and to just focus on that 1 thing at a time and give that all your energy. You're actually just going to reach that goal quicker. And then you can just build on top of that. So once you build that goal quick, you're good, you're maintaining it. You build the next goal quick, rather than just kind of giving 20% to all these little things. No, you don't want to do that. You want to give your all to something, do it well. So then when it's time for you to move on and shift, you're satisfied and you're proud because, hey, I was managed to do this thing really well. And it builds your confidence. It builds your self-trust. And from there, you build on top of that. And you build on top of that. And you build on top of that. Yeah, man. If today you feel like nothing, like you have nothing to give and nothing to build with, I just want to remind you that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember kun fayakun? Allah literally creates from nothing, from zero, from nada, He creates from nothing. And he still chose you as the vessel for the idea that you got. Think about it. I mean, so trust me when I say the thing is not going anywhere. You might think, if I just don't do all of these 5 things now, oh my God, either somebody else is going to do it, either I'm never going to want to do it ever again, I'm going to forget, it's not going to get done, I'm going to wish I did it earlier, and all these things, yes, can be true. But you also have to trust that Allah knows best and Allah has a plan for you. That's literally the whole point. And if Allah didn't want you to do something or tackle this or, build that app or write that book or start that blog or YouTube or whatever, He wouldn't have put that thing in your head. Think about it. He wouldn't have put it in your head if He didn't want you to do it. That simply put. So, with that, you have to trust that, you just got to do it right. You got to do the thing right. You got to take your time and do it right. Take your time and do it right. I had to learn how to listen with the podcast. I was trying to do too much. Trying to do this. Trying to do that. Trying to switch. No. You got to stick with something. You got to trust the plan. You got to take your time. You got to figure out what you want. What the vision you want. And you got to put your all into it. When I wanted to release more episodes, I wanted it to be right after Ramadan. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break, or not take a break, but, not release anything during Ramadan. People are focused on Ramadan. I'm focusing on Ramadan. But then after that, I'm going to come with a bang. But then think about it. It's okay, that's cool, but then technically you wouldn't even be focused on Ramadan anyways, girl, because you're going to be so busy preparing for that big bang in the episode or whatever. I mean, that's gonna require that preparation time. That's literally during Ramadan. Are you okay? And obviously I was not okay. I was not thinking that through. And I had a conversation with my friends, and they were like, listen, girl, this is obviously something you care about, and this is something you want to do right. So you gotta sit down, strategize, and do this thing right, And I was like, you know what? Yeah, actually, I gotta trust that Allah is gonna take care of me, and I don't have to rush to receive His blessings and His barakah in like what I'm trying to do. No matter when everything has its predetermined time and predestined time, anyways. So if I choose to slow down or whatever on this thing, that's okay. That is okay, because I'm trying to do this right. I'm trying to make quality stuff so that obviously people enjoy what they're listening to. Duh, I don't want to rush and put out garbage and then there's like, oh, anyways. And that doesn't do a service, or what am I trying to say? It's a great disservice to the people who I'm trying to serve and I'm trying to provide benefit to, right? I'm not trying to provide y'all with garbage. I'm trying to provide y'all with quality stuff. Quality guests that you guys can learn from and relate to, quality materials, so then that way it provides use to you and you don't feel like, oh, like, what is this? Quality content. So it's not just random, gigabytes being wasted in the cloud, just garbage, as if there's not or enough garbage out there already. I want to provide something that's worth people's time and worth listening to and worth looking at. Something that you can gain something from. Not just be like, oh, that's cool, let me drop a like. No. I want you to gain something from it, right? So when they told me that and I really thought about it, I was like, yeah, man, I just gotta slow down. I want to do this right. I want to, have a vision. Have a vision, and I need to succeed at that vision. Anyways, so yeah, even with the podcast, man, 1% rule, man, 1%. It's not the fastest, slow and steady wins race, you know what I'm saying? So, we all know the story, tortoise in the hare. It's just no rush, man. It's life. And, in fact, ironically enough, if you're trying to do it all, you're trying to do it fast and everything at once, you're just going to take more time doing the stuff anyways. Sad, because you're not even given the right type of time and energy that you actually need to be given, Isn't that crazy, right? So, I do have a question for you. What does building look like for you right now? With energy, with the faith, the resources that you actually have, Go ahead, think about it, journal about it, write about it, or even shoot me a thread at Muslimahs Emotion Pod on Threads, not X or Twitter or whatever, because boo. But I know Threads is really not that much better, but when I tell you, Twitter really used to be something, and then somebody just had to take it and stomp on it. I can't forgive that. Besides the point, drop a thread, DM me at Muslimahs Emotion Pod, Instagram, TikTok. Let me know. And, who knows? In a future episode, I might share some, a little something. And also, guys, there's fan mail. If you click that link in the description, you can actually leave quote-unquote fan mail. I know Buzzsprout calls it fan mail, but really, I just think of it as cute mail. Cute little mail. You can write and leave your opinions and leave feedback and write a cute little message, and I'll read them and maybe post them or episode them. If you send in a mail or something, has a cool, episode idea, you might be onto something and we can make something out of that. So yeah, anyways, check that out. So, if this episode sat with you, if it resonated with you, share it with a sister who is rebuilding, quietly or unquietly. If you're just rebuilding, or even if you're not rebuilding, just share the episode. And like I said, you can always find me at Muslimahs in Motion Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, and HMS Dev on YouTube. So feel free, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, and like I said, don't forget the little link. Salam everyone, and remember to stay in motion.